You know, I was thinking as I was watching this, I'm so grateful that you're a Christmas person.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
but
just,
not like this kind of Christmas person.
No.
I was thinking this might be an extended episode. I have 46 pages of notes. But I wore my Snoopy shirt, my Snoopy Christmas.
They keep saying they want it to be longer.
Yeah, well, here we go.
Hi, Julia Benzavalli.
Hi, Patrick Hines.
Hey, can I give one more plug for my traveling book party?
You better.
Fam, the cities are selling out. We are sold out in Boston. We had to add a show in Chicago. That's almost sold out, too. We're coming to a lot of other cities. I can't think of them all off the top of my head.
Right here in New York City. I'll be there.
Opening night in New York City, January 21st. I want to blow out the opening night show. You're going to be there.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
It's going to be cool. We're going to do a little dance party. I'm going to read a chapter from the book. We're going to play a game. I've come up with a game we're going to do.
Amazing. Let's
go. I'm going to be dancing. I'm going to stay and meet everybody and take all the pictures. So
come on.
Come and see me and get your tickets fast because they are selling out. Just go to truecrimeobsessed.com, click on the See Us Live link. While you're there, maybe get your tickets to Obsessed Fest.
Sure, that would be fun.
Fam, Obsessed Fest Year 2, Dallas, October 20th to the 22nd. It's going to be like 4,000 people hanging out, making best friends, true crime panels, meetups, meet and greets, live shows.
Yeah, fun stuff like bingo, sing-alongs, karaoke, like really, really fun
All
stuff.
your favorite true crime podcasters, grab us in the hallway, grab us while we're having lunch, grab us while we're having a drink. We want to give you hugs. We want to give you pictures. We want to say hi. We're there to see you.
I think you and I said hi to every single person. If I didn't say hi to you, I apologize.
I know.
I am also shocked because I can't believe it. But let's do it again next year.
It's going to be the best time. And also, join us on the Patreon.
Yes, please.
It's over 350 full ad-free bonus apps. It's where you can find all of our coverage of like The Serial and The Staircase and Making a Murderer and the Lacey Peterson doc.
Right. And then these episodes on the regular feed, you get them ad-free.
Yeah,
on the feeds.
exactly.
And then we do like AMAs and fun things.
But there's also tons of video content there too.
Yes.
So lots of stuff from Obsessed Fest. Our live show is there.
Yep.
Go check it out.
Our very first live show that we ever did is also on there.
Also
like
there.
From years and years ago.
And we look like babies.
Muppet babies, absolutely.
Like Muppet babies. And that's it. Join the Facebook group.
Okay, great.
That's all.
Great.
Should we get to this nonsense?
Yes.
Okay.
I wore my Snoopy Christmas shirt. I'm ready to go.
Yes. Jingle bells. No. We're not celebrating the holidays in this one.
No, we are.
Okay.
It's Twas the Fight Before Christmas on Apple TV Plus, whatever it is. This came out in 2021, and everyone was dying for us to do it, so we're doing it
Here we go.
I am the only American, probably the only person in the world, who has been banned by a federal court from decorating for Christmas. I love Christmas more than life itself. Christmas tree time, let's go!
He doesn't know when to stop.
Some people call me Mr. Christmas. Accurate. This is the one.
Honey, it's too big for the dining room.
We gotta get a bigger house.
Jeremy Morris said that he was going to be purchasing a home in our subdivision.
Jeremy asked a ton of questions, seemed kind of weird.
This house, it's perfect for hosting this Christmas show. What is this guy up to?
This Christmas show, 5,000 people.
We need to make it bigger.
Noise, the traffic.
The people in this neighborhood didn't want it.
My neighbors are essentially terrorists. I wanted to become the guy who saved Christmas. Oh, you didn't get a permit. This is a miracle. You don't get permits for miracles.
Girl, we open in a storage unit. This man is calling it his North Pole storage.
His name is Jeremy Morris.
He's the worst.
He tells us, and he knows he's the worst. He's one of those people who loves being the worst.
Can I say this? I didn't know he was the worst until like 15 minutes in. For the first 15 minutes, he's Clark Griswold from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Right, and everyone knows Chevy Chase is a dick.
I know, but like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, it should be a national holiday.
Yeah, Doris Roberts is in it. Didn't she come up in an episode recently?
Totally. Julia Lewis, Johnny Galecki.
Yeah, a lot of people.
The whole gang is
the
here.
Whole gang's
Beverly D'Angelo.
Well, she's in all of them, right?
Yes.
Is Christy Brinkley in that one too?
Yes, she is.
Christy Brinkley winked at my dad once.
We've heard this. The point is just this guy is like that, like the dad from, and like so he's charming and doofy until he becomes terrifying.
Well, but what's interesting to me is that you just blew right past the fact that he says in the first 30 seconds, I am the only person to ever have a federal court ban me from decorating for Christmas.
I know.
And you're like, I like him.
Because in the beginning, I'm kind of like, I just assumed this guy had a bunch of grumpy Gus neighbors who didn't like his Clark Griswoldness, and they were just jerks, and he was just like a sweet lovable doof.
No, to me,
but that's not the case.
He's very intense and very weird off the bat. And I'm not saying loving Christmas or the holidays is weird. Please.
No.
Please, please, please.
Yes.
These two people in this booth, you and I love the holiday season.
Totally.
We listen to Christmas music in July.
I love it so much.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's not like, oh, you're weird for liking reindeer. Like, it's not that. But Jeremy's like,
I wanted to take part of this film because it just seemed like a fun opportunity. Like, I mean, how many people ever get to be in a film? I had a lot of people tell me not to be in this film, believe it or not. Because what they'll do is they'll make you look like a crazy person.
everyone I know told me not to be in this film, but I crave attention and any opportunity to guest,
totally.
so here I am. And he goes, people in my life were like, don't do it. They'll make you look like a crazy person. And I'm like, Jeremy, sweetheart, you're doing that all by yourself.
I know. But this is where I'm saying, again, he seems like a lovable idiot, which is kind of like the name of my second book.
And then he's like, and then he goes immediately into, I thought this was America. I thought this was America. And I'm like, oh,
I know.
Where's that going to go?
But then 2 seconds later, we're in the woods with him while he and his family are going to chop down the perfect Christmas tree. Again, right out of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Right. I thought it was really sweet. He berates his wife a little bit.
Well, he's immediately calling all the shots.
Yes.
The kids are like, what about that one? He's like, no. And because he's like the authority on Christmas, like he's Mr. Christmas or whatever stupid name he calls himself. And then the wife is like, Jeremy, her name is Christy.
Yeah.
And she's like, Jeremy, that's not going to fit in our living room like that. And she's being rational. And he's like, if you love me, you'll let me get the perfect tree.
Can I tell you that Steve and I had this exact same fight last year? I didn't care that the tree was too big. We got it anyway. And I strong-armed Steve into getting it, and it was too big.
Right.
And he was right.
And then I know it exactly. I know it exactly. The tree's there.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no. And he's sitting there like,
and I'm like,
what did I say?
I guess I'll check in and see how you fixed that later.
Right.
I'm going to have a drink.
Yeah, I'm going to go leave. I'm going to make myself a coffee.
I
leave
know.
the half and half on the counter, and you figure out all of it.
But, to me, it seems sweet in the beginning.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that you felt that way.
I didn't know anything about this guy. So we learned that his name is Jeremy.
Yeah.
It's 2014. We're in North Idaho.
Yeah.
And he says,
some people call me Clark Griswold, accurate. Some people call me the Christmas lawyer, definitely. And some people call me Mr. Christmas. I love Christmas more than life itself.
I love Christmas more than life itself, which I gotta say is too much.
And
I love Christmas. You love Christmas.
Right.
But there's a line.
He's wrong.
Yeah.
That's not what he means. My thing is, I don't think Jeremy loves Christmas more than life itself. I think he loves being known as the guy who loves Christmas.
Yeah.
And to me, that's very different.
It is very different. And when people they've never had an identity.
This is his whole personality.
Yep. They find something that they can sort of attach themselves to. They become that kooky guy who loves that thing. That's this guy.
Right. But he also, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that he's making his personality.
Yes.
And just like being the guy who's like weirdly in love with Christmas. And again, these two Christmas-loving ding-dongs.
He does say that Clark Griswold is a hero of his. I kind of love that moment. He says
So Christy, Jeremy's wife, tells us that in the fall of 2014, Jeremy starts decorating for Christmas. And he almost falls off the roof doing so. Whoa. Do we hear? And so Jeremy gets out Roby the robot, which is this robot that gives out cotton candy.
No, everyone calm down. Because cotton candy is Daisy's favorite food. And if there was a robot that existed that made cotton candy the way this robot does, that would be Daisy's best friend.
Who are you telling to calm down exactly? The
not
person
you.
who's like
Definitely not
screaming yet.
But I'm just saying, I'm still under the spell at this point.
I
Because
see. Okay.
This guy, all he wants to do is decorate the shit out of his house, raise money for a cancer organization.
Which was his wife's idea.
Yes,
Hold on.
But he wants to give out cotton candy and hot chocolate. He wants to make an event. He wants to put on a show. He wants to take his podcast and put it on Broadway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, no.
I relate to this guy.
I think he'd have a lot of problems with what we did on Broadway. Too many gays on the stage pushing our fucking agenda.
I know. But
and our agenda's Christmas. Which is the other thing. Jeremy doesn't realize that half the people that he's fighting with agree with him fundamentally on things.
Exactly.
He's a nightmare.
Exactly.
So Jeremy wants to do a Christmas thing.
He's like, well, people drive around, they look at Christmas lights. So let's bring this guy out and we'll hand them cotton candy in their cars and we'll give them some hot chocolate.
People drive by and he'll give them hot chocolate and all this stuff.
But you understand, he wants to do it bigger and better than it's ever been done. And I'm just saying that Jeremy and I on that front have a very similar way of approaching
If he wants to do it, he wants to make it a big spectacle.
Exactly.
I get it.
Yes.
And so Christy, his wife, is like, hey, like, this sounds cool. Why don't we add a charitable element to this?
Yes.
Like, it's the holidays. If we're going to invite, like, thousands of neighbors to just drive by, like, let's do something nice. And I'm like, see, I like Christy.
And Christy, we're going to see time and time again, it, like, tries really hard to be the voice of reason here.
And Jeremy's like, all right, fine, dummy. Like, as long as I get all the attention, like, I don't really care.
Same. So, like, it's me and Steve.
Right.
Making a Christmas house.
I hate the comparison because you'll know by the end of this episode why I hate the comparison.
But he decides to, like, hey, let's, like, make a Facebook page and, like, make it a Facebook event and we'll, like, see who wants to come. 1,000 people sign up to come see his house.
And they all come, right? So it's like this massive event. Christy and Jeremy, I feel like they looked at each other and they were like, honey, and like they both say two things at once.
Shut it down. We can't accommodate this. How are we going to do this?
My first thought was, we need to make it bigger. And that's when I remembered that I knew a lady who had a camel.
Christy's like, shut it down. And Jeremy's like, we got to make it bigger.
It's me and Steve. It's 100%.
And then they're like, and then it's like that quirky, like, wah, wah, wah music. And she's like, shit.
No, you're right. You're right.
And Jeremy's like, you know what, honey? I know a lady with a camel. And I'm like, great. He just knows a lady with a camel.
But so we see the house and it's beautiful.
We disagree so much.
Do you hate it?
I just think that the decorations are like not very impressive. Like there's a lot of lights, but it's just like those lights that are curtains and you just hang them on the house. Like, are there a lot of lights? Absolutely. Is it a spectacle? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it particularly show-stopping? No. And let me tell you something. As someone growing up in Queens, poorly decorated houses mean a lot to me. They are very important to me. The nostalgia that I feel, the mismatched blinking, the thing where, like, the idea that someone took a step back and went, perfect. And it looks horrible. That's my favorite type of Christmas light display.
That is, like, so well said.
Like,
I love it.
Like, because you look at it and you're like, nothing matches. The blinks are all off. Like, it looks like
even the whites are off.
Everything, nothing makes sense. And they were just like, this is it.
We nailed it.
We nailed it this year.
fucking
Better than
nailed it.
look at this. Get it on Instagram. They just love it. So like driving through Queens is like my favorite pastime during the holidays because it just makes me so nostalgic. So I'm not a stickler. I'm not being precious about it. The worse your lights look, the more I love them. Truly. This is just not that particular. It's not that great.
I've always identified with Clark Griswold of it all.
And it is like a sheet of lights.
It's just a sheet of lights over the top. He wants to make it work.
The camel's there.
The camel's, he pulls it. He's got a fucking choir.
Let me say something. You know who really loves Christmas?
Who?
Snoopy. I don't see Snoopy anywhere in this display.
Wow.
Jeremy, what do you have against Snoopy? I'd like to know.
No, that's a fair question.
I'd like to know what that beagle did to you. Other than bring you joy and warmth in your heart.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
That's a very fair question.
Plenty of Snoopy decorations that he could have used. I didn't see a one.
Jeremy then is saying that, like, we did this for 8 nights, and every night we get a call from the city saying you're in trouble because you didn't get a permit.
So when the Berlin Wall was falling down, guys, get off the wall you're tearing down. You have to have a permit because it's an event. I said, no, because this is not an event. This is a miracle. You don't get permits for miracles.
He compares putting the lights on his house to the breaking of the Berlin Wall.
And he's like, this is a miracle. You don't need a permit for a miracle. And I'm like, Jeremy, you put on lights and handed out hot chocolate. This is not a miracle. It's a spectacle.
But also, like, where he and I differ is I really would be thinking about my neighbor. I'm always afraid of, like, inconveniencing other people.
And because
Steve is going to take a hard disagree with that.
Of course he will.
But I feel it. You know what I mean?
I do. Your heart's in the right place.
I'm not going to necessarily do anything about it.
You'd love to be able to physically put the half and half back. Are you gonna? Absolutely not.
Do I even know where I got it from?
No.
You know what I mean?
No. But talking about it,
yes.
You wish you didn't do it.
I wish I made things easier for Steve. In life in general, I wish I did.
But are you going to change? Absolutely not.
So.
And no one wants you to.
No.
Including Steve.
I'm too old to change now.
People don't change.
No.
They grow, but they don't change.
They don't change.
But they grow.
Yes. But the point is, I am a considerate person, I think. I would have been worried about, like, the neighbor's experience.
Well, the thing is, that's what he's not doing.
Right.
Because anyone else...
That's the crux of this whole thing.
Anyone else would be like, what a great community thing.
Yes.
Like, Christy wants to raise money for cancer donations, right? Like, and she raises a ton of money.
Yeah.
Like, she's standing there and she's like, hey, like, look at all the money we raised. And everyone's, like, cheering.
Yeah.
Like, normally you'd be like, let's all do this together. Let's have a great, like, community neighborly thing. But it has to be him. He has to be in charge of it, and he has to be Mr. fucking Christmas.
100%. And so Jeremy tells us...
December 27th, Christy wakes me up and says, we gotta get a bigger house.
I was like, we can do this even bigger next year.
The only way to do it bigger is to get a bigger house. Let's go get a bigger house.
They move because of this.
And we don't even know what they do for a living at this point. They haven't I'm like, do these people have jobs? Are they independent? Are they lottery winners?
Yeah.
They look like lottery winners.
They look like lottery winners. But the thing is, if they won, we would have known. Because it's all Jeremy would have talked about. That would have been his personality, the guy who won the lottery.
So they go and they look at this house in a place called West Hayden Estates.
Small little community in Idaho. Let's meet the neighbors, shall we? Ron.
Yep.
Ron is retired law enforcement
30
officer.
years.
He's exhausted. He just wants some peace and quiet.
Hey, how about next door neighbor Kim? She loves yoga and meditation.
Yeah, she's married to Ryan. She's a yoga enthusiast. She loves the peaceful energy of the neighborhood. She's meditating outside. Jennifer, she loves the trees as much as she loves the people. That's saying a lot.
Listen, Larry and his wife, they love to sit on the porch.
He loves nothing more than raking his front yard and having everyone come by for a little stop and chat. Loves it. Sits by waiting for him.
These people love living in this neighborhood. They love it.
Julie and Jim.
Totally.
West Hayden Estates would be nothing without the dogs.
They are all dog people there.
Julie says the dogs really tie it together.
She gets the dogs' names before the people's names.
Which I wish I could do, but we only meet 2 dogs, Lizzie and Mia. They're the best girls.
Hey, how many dogs are you allowed to have in this place?
Only 2
per household. Don't get it twisted.
But someone else has 3.
Yeah, we'll get
Sneaks
to her.
them under the radar. Julie is a dog groomer, and she's giving this little Yorkie a trim, and it's the cutest thing, that little face. Boop, 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 boop. The ladies have a bunco group, which is like the gifting tables, only not at all.
They roll the dice and you switch tables and you win prizes.
If you're the big winner, you might make $60.
Julie with the cool hair, she's the dog groomer, and she's always wearing like cool wigs.
She's like
and
this old lady with like really cool hair. I'm into her.
And she's just cool. She wears like tie-dye sweatshirts.
She is. She's also, I think, a little bit of like the neighborhood gossip, which makes me like her more.
Right, but also like won't take any shit. Like she's gossiping, but she's like, I'm so tired of gossiping. Anyway, did you hear?
That's the kind of gossip I am.
Right, but
that's how I do it.
Yes. But Julie goes, look, with bunco, if you're the big winner, you get like $60.
Right.
Like she really let's all pump the brakes on the bunco. It's not that big a deal. I still don't know what it is. I just know there are tables involved. It's the gifting tables, but not. But everyone loves each other. It's a perfect place to live. Everything's absolutely amazing. We see where this is going.
So
right?
Jeremy and Christy see the house. It's a gorgeous fucking house. And I'm like, something tells me they're not going to be super welks in this neighborhood.
But also, they're like, it's perfect for the spectacle. Yeah. It's our dream house. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know, because the front yard doesn't have a lot of space for camels and hot chocolate and everything.
No, that's true.
Like the house is hidden behind really, really big tall trees. It's a beautiful house, but it's not necessarily like a big front yard for a spectacle.
But that's the whole thing. He doesn't want them in the yard. He wants them in the street and in the driveway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Chris and Larry owned the house.
And they are married. They are not both men.
No.
Chris is a woman.
Yes. And so Jeremy asked a ton of like just odd questions.
Larry thought the questions were real weird.
How many people have you had here before? You know, when I said, well, we've had 100 people for a Super Bowl, his eyes lit up super wide. He was asking, what are your easements like? What goes on in the back behind your house? All those questions seemed kind of weird.
Larry once had a Super Bowl party for over 100 people.
Which is a lot for a Super Bowl party.
I can't believe there's 100 people in the world who like football.
Oh, there are. Hundreds of millions.
I can't imagine. I've never seen it.
Talk about making something your personality. All right. Jeremy's also asking, what are your easements like?
I don't even know what an easement is.
Oh, I looked it up.
Oh, great.
Of course. An easement is basically, as per the internet, an easement is a non-possessory right to use and or enter onto the real property of another without possessing it. So it's basically like, do you have the right to go on my property and can I go on yours? Like, what's the rules here? How gray and blurry are the lines? Can I put some shit on in your yard or what?
Yeah, and so Jeremy says to us, his house is great. It's just a mile from the city line, so tons of people will come to my Christmas thing, and for some reason the city can't shut it down.
And Jeremy was super aggressive and immediately tells the people who own the house, oh, I'm a lawyer.
So
I'm a lawyer.
We finally find out what he does for a living.
Yeah.
And how it's gonna like benefit him in this fucking nonsense he's gonna pull for the next hour and 20 minutes.
Right. So they make an offer. And Christy, the wife, immediately wants to make cookies and make friends with the neighbors.
All this woman wants is to live in a cul-de-sac in a nice neighborhood where she can be on the bunco fucking team and like make cookies and hang out with the other ladies and gays in the neighborhood. That's all Christy wants.
But Jeremy, this insecure, entitled fucking pine cone, says no.
Leave the pine cones out of this.
I know, I'm sorry. Pine cones are perfect for Christmas, too.
It's the season. How dare you?
I'm sorry.
How dare you?
I'm just going to go.
Okay.
I'm sorry. idiot, whatever. It's like, no, babe. They make us cookies. And Christy goes, absolutely not. Also, I hate you.
Yeah.
Now, GP note, Christy is trapped in an abusive marriage.
100%.
I hope she gets the help she needs.
Yes.
This is like, the more we learn about and see their marriage, the more it's not at all funny.
And also, like, Jeremy comes off as a lovable doof, but he's not. This guy's fucking scary.
And, like, Christy really wants to be friends with the neighbors,
Yes.
like you said. And
Yes.
Jeremy is robbing her of that.
Yes.
And, like, she's completely isolated and controlled by Jeremy.
Right, and she, like, supports him in his idea, but then also wants him to pull back. Like, she doesn't have any power in this relationship.
And she tries to, like, gently point him in the right direction, and he just, like, shoots her down.
Right. We learn...
The realtor informed us this was in a homeowners association, and every HOA has something called CC&Rs. And basically, they're covenants and restrictions that sort of limit what you can do with your property.
And they have this thing called CC&R. It's like the rule book of the neighborhood. The
Covenants, conditions, and restrictions.
So Jeremy, being an attorney, he himself reads through it and gives it to two of his lawyer friends to make sure there's nothing in there that could be used against him to make him not be able to do his stupid fucking Christmas thing.
It's described as the size of a phone book.
Yeah.
This isn't just like a little PDF document. This thing is gigantic. And some of the rules are really weird and specific, like the amount of animals you can have in your home.
Yeah, well,
you can't have a reptile.
In the next printing of it, it's going to be like, and you can't have a weird fucking Christmas celebration for 8 days around the holiday. They only have those weird rules because somebody did something once, but they don't want them to be able to do it anymore. You know what I mean?
Leave the dogs out of it. 3 dogs. My parents had 3 dogs for years. Not a problem.
Fine.
Only 2
Great.
pets.
Yeah.
And no reptiles. What's the turtle going to do to you? But you know what happened? I'm sorry.
Somebody had a fucking alligator.
Someone's snake got out and terrorized the cul-de-sac.
Yes. Is an alligator a reptile?
Yes.
Okay, great. Then I nailed that joke.
Frogs are amphibians.
Okay,
Doesn't matter. Anyway.
Steve had to remind me that we were mammals. I forgot that.
Oh, yeah, we're mammals.
I didn't know. I did. Wait, do mammals lay eggs? No.
Have you ever laid an egg? Ask yourself this question. Do you know anyone who's ever laid an egg? Also, around the Easter season, it's good to remind everyone that bunnies also don't lay eggs, no matter what the Cadbury...
Is that right?
Girl. Bunnies don't lay eggs.
Look at me with your pity private school eyes. I don't want that.
I had bunnies when I was little.
Take that right back.
No.
Okay.
Here's the thing about a homeowners association. This is your choice. You don't have to buy this home.
I have that note 800 times. You didn't have to buy this house.
And if it's like a bunch of annoying rules, great, move along.
Yes.
You don't have to follow those rules simply by not purchasing a home.
If you want to be able to do anything you want with your house, you got to build your house on your own property in the middle of the fucking woods. And Jeremy, if you can afford this house, you can afford to do that.
Right.
Why didn't you do that? Because I think the terrorizing of the neighborhood is fucking part of what he loves.
100%. He wants the fight, and we'll learn why a little bit later.
Yes.
He doesn't want it to be easy.
A
Absolutely
million
not.
%.
So he goes to Jennifer, who's the president of the HOA.
Somebody nominated me. It was kind of a joke. I thought it was kind of funny. Like, I don't really have time for that. I don't know what I'm doing. But somehow I ended up getting voted in. I did not want to do the job. Between going to work, picking my kids up, taking them to all their events, homework, getting dinner ready, I didn't have the time.
This fucking woman, Jennifer, I love her. Jennifer does do one dumb thing. She lets her friends jokingly, elect her to the president of the HOA.
I'm like, who is she, Rachel Lee Cook? What is this? She's all that? Because she's like, I hate this job.
Yes.
I was nominated as a joke, and then I won as a joke. And I'm like, what are you, the girl with glasses, and then they take the glasses off, and now you're beautiful? You were beautiful anyway?
I know. I really like her. I like Jennifer, and she, does the best she can here. But that is a weird thing.
We need more context about...
Yeah, because we learned about Larry, who had been, the president of the HOA for, 30 years. What happened to Larry?
But also, this is a title. No one is fucking with her except for Jeremy.
Yes.
Larry was probably like, girl, I've had this job for 30 years. I did nothing. It's just a title. Take the tax break or whatever it is. Whatever.
Yeah. Totally.
But so Jeremy goes to Jennifer, the president, and comes in hot instantly, which is not how you get anywhere. If he came in a little bit cooler, everything would have been fine. But he wants the fight.
And he records all of his calls with everybody and doesn't tell them. He secretly records these calls.
But he calls up Jennifer and he's like, hey, Jenny, how you doing? So I'm not asking you for permission.
Yeah.
You can be involved if you want, but this is what I'm doing. He has not purchased the house yet.
Right.
He can walk away at any moment. He is starting a fight, and he's not even in the homeowners association yet because he doesn't own that home.
Really quickly, we take a little detour and we meet his parents, Dex and Pam.
Okay, hold on a second.
Okay.
Dex, his dad, looks like Jeremy put on a costume. It's an ill-fitting suit, this enormous mustache, and he looks so much like his son that it looks like Jeremy put on one of those disguise things where it's the glasses and the big that mustache looks like it came from a costume store.
It's one of those novelties that Stan Spornak would sell door to door.
100%. That's exactly it. And I did a double. I was like, because I wouldn't put it past this guy to show up as like a guy in a costume to say nice things about himself. Because God knows no one else is doing it.
Totally.
Anyway.
His parents also have no sense of the monster that they raised, but, fuck them.
The mother kind of does.
Because Jeremy was the type of child he was, we kind of were always prepared for the...
How far is this going to go?
Yes.
Is there an end to this?
That's right. I have a lot of gray hair, and most of them are because of him.
She's like, I have a lot of grays, and it's all because of my asshole son. And I'm like, cool.
Jesus. So we're back with Jennifer, the president of the HOA, and she calls a meeting of the HOA, and Ron, the retired cop, he's like
listening to Rock Around the Clock on a vintage radio. He's exhausted.
He is.
All he wants to do is tinker in his garage.
Yeah, I mean, he was law enforcement for 30 years. You're exact. He's got a workbench in the garage, and all he wants to do is tinker. You're right.
Ron, what are you doing out there? I made egg salad sandwiches. Honey, I'm just tinkering with my old vintage radio. And she's like, okay, great, honey. They love each other.
They've been happily married for 50 years.
Also, egg salad sandwiches. It's the worst.
I know. But I couldn't agree more.
It's like suburb food. Like 1950s in the suburbs to me. And I feel like Ron, that's the good old days for Ron with his vintage radio. Anyway,
they get together because Jeremy has submitted a letter to the HOA saying, I'm going to do this thing. I'm not asking. I'm just telling you. And if you want to be involved, great.
Also, I haven't bought this home yet.
Exactly.
It's wild to me.
He's not even there. And so Ron and Jennifer and the rest of the board are like, this sounds like a nightmare.
Some people got on their phones and went and looked up the Facebook event from last year. Saw the crowds, the noise, the traffic, the everything. And they had lots of concerns.
5,000 people or so? That's a lot of people.
5,000 people showed up all told.
I mean, they are bussing people in. There's camels. There's a fucking choir.
Camels.
I know. And so they're like, no.
Lots of crowds, lots of noise, lots of traffic, all night long for 8. It's a lot.
It's a nightmare. And they're like,
lot.
he's got to be violating rules here.
Right. So now we're in Grouse Meadows, which to me is funny because Grouse needs to complain and be petty, which is what Jeremy spends his entire life doing. Now, granted, it's also a bird, which is probably what it's named after. But to me, I was like, ooh, a little wordplay. Loving it.
So Jennifer calls Jeremy up.
I called Mr. Morris, and I said, people have some concerns. He got really upset with me. He said, I'm not asking for your permission. You're not telling me whether or not I can do this. I'm doing it. Regardless. And I'm a lawyer, so I can do that if I want.
He's hiding behind the fact that he's a lawyer. I'm a lawyer.
Right.
I can do whatever I want. And he's bullying her and basically saying, like you said earlier, this is just going to cost you a lot of money.
And she just says, I was intimidated. I needed help, so I called Larry. Larry was the guy who was the president of the board for 30 years. And Larry doesn't take any fucking shit.
No, he knows the ins and outs. Totally. He's read that phone book. And Larry agrees to write a letter explaining to Jeremy what would be in violation of the CCRs, right?
But he's sending it first to Jennifer and Ron, in a draft form that there's
a group email going around.
And they're basically, he wrote the legalese, but then also was kind of a dick with the sarcasm.
He goes, so first it's very professional, and then he goes, then my sarcasm came forth. So I've screenshot it.
Oh, great.
I'm hesitant to bring up the fact that some of our residents are avowed atheists, and I don't even want to think about the problems that could cause. I want to discourage you from being I don't want to discourage you from being part of our great neighborhood, but we do not wish to become entwined with anyone breaking rules and regulations. And you want to fill our neighborhood with the riffraff you seem to attract over by the Walmart.
Does he say over by the Walmart?
Over by Walmart. So Larry's trying to make jokes. Larry, this is a bad idea.
And so what happens essentially is that Jennifer, Larry, and Ron are sending it back and forth, cleaning it up, but then Jennifer just sends it.
They made one big change.
Yeah.
Instead of the word atheist, they replace it with non-Christian.
Uh-huh.
And so Jeremy is harassing Jennifer, making her feel like this is very time sensitive.
Right. Because he's doing that lawyer thing where he's like, it's an emergency, it's time sensitive. I'm going to sue.
And when it's not at all.
Right. So Jennifer just sends it, and it's not perfected yet, and it has some language they might not have used.
They never should have sent it.
Yeah.
But as Ron says, and I quote,
To use an old cop's term, how do you put a fart back in after it's come out?
How do you put a fart back in after it's come out? Is that an old cop's term? We've done roughly 10,000 episodes of this podcast.
I know.
We've seen a lot of cops talk to us via documentary. I've never once heard anyone in law enforcement say, how do you put a fart back in after it's come out? Ron. What are they doing over in Idaho, Ron?
I know. You know what? It's a real rhetorical question, Ron.
So Jeremy gets the letter and it's not good. And
No.
he hangs on to one specific thing.
Right.
Which is the following.
Yeah.
And finally, we're hesitant to bring up the fact that some of our residents are non-Christians or people of another faith, and we don't even want to think of the problems that would bring up.
They do say one other thing that is super garbagey.
What?
They refer to the undesirables that it would attract to the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, they
And
mean
that's-
non-white people.
They mean non-white and poor people.
Yeah.
You know, and like that is fucking shitty. Like
Yeah.
that's like a big strike against the HOA. They are in the right here. Like what a fucking nightmare this would be.
Yeah.
But like to mention like quote undesirables.
I agree with you. And
Yeah.
what I don't understand is this guy who's puffing his chest out, I'm such a lawyer. Why didn't they have a lawyer consult this letter?
Exactly.
Because anyone would be like, can we not put in the Christian thing
Yep.
or other faith thing?
You know, the thing, this is where Jennifer, like, I don't really want this fucking job. I got a family and a job and I'm doing the best I can. We've had 8 drafts of this. Can we just fucking send it?
Right.
You know what I mean?
But this is perfect for Jeremy because
Yes.
Jeremy is now going to turn this into a case of religious discrimination,
Which is
it
just
100% not is.
Nonsense. And like eventually some judge is gonna say like your lawn was full of like
Plastic
fucking
Santas.
But it was also just like Frosty the Snowman and the Grinch. It's
Right.
not a religious based
No.
thing. It's like Christmas lights.
And religion only came up once you could use it in this
Exactly.
case. Like he never once said, we're only learning that he's a Christian now.
Right.
Like, fuck off,
100%.
Jeremy.
And then we meet his fucking friend Dawn.
Oh.
I went to my Bible study, run by my friend, Don Bradway.
I met Jeremy through patriotic events that I was also involved in.
Dawn and Jeremy met at, quote, Bible study and other patriotic events.
Hey, Don, thoughts on January 6th? Don, his name is Don Bradway. He's a real fucking piece of work. He's making his own bullets.
Yes. By the way, Bible study, he's saying Bible study and other patriotic events. Bible study is a patriotic event?
No.
Well, remember separation of church and state, Don?
They don't.
No, they don't.
Now, Don says, I did a deep dive on Don.
Oh,
Don,
you did?
Don says in this film, quote, we call Idaho Free America. And they go to Free America rallies.
Mm-hmm.
Free America rallies are on those sites that tell you about hate groups in America, like the Southern Poverty Law Center.
Oh, shit.
Like in Idaho. Like if you go to the Southern Poverty Law Center and you go like by state,
Yeah.
like what are the hate groups in that state? Free America rallies are on that site.
Wow.
And he's on his Facebook page proudly wearing a Black Rifles Matter shirt. So these are the kind of people we're dealing with. Yeah.
Oh.
So Don's here to be like, we want our guns, we want our freedom, and we want to worship whatever we want. Guess what, you fucking dummy? You have all of that.
You have all of it. And he's talking about how, like, the HOA is full of badge-heavy people who just wanted to get elected so they could rule. Jennifer doesn't want this fucking job.
No. And he's saying things like, you got to crush them, you have to stomp them. And I'm like, these are like white supremacist dog whistles.
And you're talking about people who just want to make sure that, like, the neighborhood looks nice. That's
right.
all.
And, like, you're not just inviting, because Jeremy keeps talking about, like, what Jeremy's not doing is being subtle about this.
Right.
So he's because he thinks that he can just steamroll anybody.
Yeah.
And what he's saying is, oh, we had 5, it's going to be twice as big this year. So he's just saying these things that are like, wait, what?
Yeah, and we get more of these recorded calls between Jeremy and Jennifer that Jennifer does not know are recorded.
You guys violated the law. When I say lawyers, I mean lawyers. They don't F around. So they're right now ready to go.
He said he has a whole team of lawyers that will destroy us. I was terrified.
He's going to destroy the HOA. And Jennifer, like, didn't want this job, but she really cares about the neighborhood and she really cares about the people who live there. She's like, a lot of people are on fixed incomes, can't afford to be sued. I can't afford to be sued.
Right.
Like, we got to really watch ourselves around this guy.
And, like, he knows he's recording her. She doesn't.
Exactly.
And she's just yesing him to death to get him off the phone.
Yes.
But what he's doing is trying to gotcha her and get her to say things that he can eventually use against her. Like, he's saying things like, did you say the word discriminatory? Because you better have told them that. And she's like, yeah, I did.
Right.
Like, just to get him off her back.
And then, like, we hear what his demands are. He's talking about how he wants the HOA to de-annex him, which would forever make that house not part of the HOA. So living in the neighborhood, getting all the benefits of the HOA, but, like, not bound to its laws.
Sure.
So he could literally do whatever the hell he wants on his property.
You know what you could also do? Not buy the house.
Exactly.
You haven't bought the house yet, Jeremy.
And she keeps saying, like, it was never about compromise with him. All he did did was demand. Like, he's not doing this in good faith. He's not trying to come to a compromise.
He wants the fight.
Exactly.
Like, he's infuriating. So now he's calling Jennifer. And the thing about Jennifer, and I like her, and she's in a terrible position, but she is prey to him.
Yes.
Like, she doesn't love the job, but she's protecting everyone. She's backed into a corner. She answers the phone. If I were Jennifer's friend, I'd be like, just block him.
Exactly.
Don't answer his phone calls. But she wants to fix it.
Yep.
So she's trying to do the right thing.
And she's also afraid that if she doesn't, then she's on the hook for whatever he does.
Right. So he's taking advantage of her niceness by being a bully. And so he's calling her multiple times a day.
And you hear, when she doesn't answer, then she does. On his own recordings, you hear him being like, am I disturbing you?
Right. And everyone's saying she totally changed.
I could see in her going downhill. She wasn't as outgoing. She wasn't as friendly. She kind of withdrew herself.
He broke her down. She's detached. She wasn't as friendly. And we hear the last phone call she ever has with him, which is when she answers the phone and he goes, am I disturbing you? And that fucking taunting.
He's such a fucking asshole,
and
this
she's
guy.
like, well, I'm making dinner. I only have a few minutes. He talks at her for about a half an hour.
Yes.
And he keeps saying to her, don't get emotional.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I'm not against you. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
You don't need to cry about this anymore, Jennifer.
Uh-huh.
Then stop screaming at her 10 times a day. I'm not coming after you personally, he says. Yes, you are. But then what happens? Jennifer eventually starts saying, Jeremy, it's bigger than me. I know you're not attacking me, but fixed incomes, you're threatening us. And finally, Jennifer's husband steps in.
Yes.
And we hear it. And he goes, all right, that's it. Conversation's over. You're harassing her. This is going to stop. Don't you dare call my wife again.
Yeah.
And as we're hearing the story, we see Jennifer and her husband sitting down to dinner and they pray.
Right. And this is where we learn all of these people that he's harassing, saying that they're discriminating against him because of his religious beliefs. They all share his religious beliefs.
They're very faithful Christians.
Yes.
They have signs.
He's a pastor.
Right.
Jennifer's husband is a fucking Christian pastor.
They're very religious people.
Yes.
And this is where it's Jeremy, oh my God.
And this is where you just know it's just bullshit. He's just using this religious discrimination thing because it's a thing he can get his claws into.
And he's one of those people who just he believes his own bullshit and then he says things and then reacts as if they're reality. So today, talking to the film crew, he's like,
if Miss Scott can't take it, then I say, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. You're the president of an HOA. You have a responsibility. You have to be ready to deal with a problem that you created.
Jennifer needs to fix the problem that she created. You don't own the house yet. You're causing drama where there isn't any. This isn't what are you talking about?
Exactly.
Should they have sent that letter with the non-Christians and all
Right,
that?
yeah.
No.
Yes.
But you started this, Jeremy.
Right. And so Jennifer then resigns from the board.
And by March of 2015, Jeremy finally buys the house it's a spite house.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is where I just have to note, just move into the woods. Wouldn't that be amazing for you?
Move with Don, who's living off the grid in his free America, making his own bullets.
And honestly, you could afford to do it. Buy 5 acres.
But what fun is that?
Exactly.
There's no one to fight with out
Exactly.
there. Now he's like, I'm going to move in anyway, and I'm going to be kind and gracious and put all this past us, which is absolutely not what he wants to do. And Christy cannot believe that people aren't clamoring and knocking the door down to bring them baked goods. She's shocked that no one wants to be friends.
And for me, it's so easy to get mad at her in this moment because she's maybe she doesn't know the extent to which he's doing this to them or whatever. But when we get to the neighbor's point of view on this, they're threatening litigation at all of us. Of course, we're not going to go anywhere near them.
And I think Christy's just bullied.
Yes.
So also she can't, she's trying to separate it all. She wants to be everyone's friend. And she's like, well, my husband's crazy, but I'm not. I'll make the cookies.
Exactly.
Because you know that Jeremy's the type where every single night at dinner, he's been screaming to and at Christy about all of this. He's not taking this quietly.
No.
So she knows what's going on, but I think she's lived a whole marriage of being embarrassed by him, having to apologize for him, and also being scared of him.
And they say that the HOA has said, no, you can't do it. But then all of a sudden, everyone just sees him. It's September.
It's September. Julie's in her, quote, bonus room.
I know.
She's up there with binoculars.
Yeah.
She's like, what's she doing
She
over
literally
there?
says it's the only part of the house where I can see their property.
Right. But Julie's the one with the cool hair
Yeah.
and the sweatshirts. And she Googs him and sees that he's part of a, quote, pseudo-political action group.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't want any part of this. So now, on top of the fact that he's relentless and aggressive, and he's doing this Christmas thing, they're also learning, who he is personally. He's not just, a stickler for the sake of it, which is an asshole way to be.
Yeah.
But, these pseudo-political action groups. neighbors.
No.
Like, that's scary.
It's fucking terrible. And so because they see that he's doing this anyway, finally the HOA like engages a lawyer, and the lawyer sends a letter to Jeremy, and Jeremy says, this letter was almost as shocking as the first one they sent us.
It was just one more thing to drive our family out of the community.
It is our determination that your planned event is not permitted within West Hayden Estates. Dolly the camel is not an ordinary house pet. In addition, your event will be offensive to the senses.
Dolly the camel is not an ordinary house pet.
You're in violation. And also that this event would be, quote, offensive to the senses. I agree.
Also, offensive to the senses is the name of my next book party tour.
Absolutely.
You know
Offensive to the senses. It rolls off the tongue. It's
really
fantastic.
does.
So he has 10 days to take the decorations down, and Christy is once again shocked. No phone calls, no cookies, just boom, attorney.
But, you know, she's like, this is the thing. She's shocked that the neighbors didn't like do it properly. Like, come over and ask us to take the lights down first, and then engage. Like, Christy, you're
wake up.
You're not getting the whole story, or you are delusional.
And I'm rooting for Christy.
Yes,
I'm on Christy's side. I hope she one day gets the help she needs and gets out of this truly horribly abusive relationship. But she, right now, honestly, I think is playing the role of the supportive wife.
Yeah.
I don't think she believes what she's saying because Jeremy's not the kind of guy to keep this kind of shit from his wife. He is screaming about this 24 hours a day. She knew. And now we learn like Jeremy's childhood. He was harassed. He was bullied.
But
he was
you know
teased.
what?
He was
I
picked
think this
on.
is kind of important to like slow down. I'm like, I don't care about his backstory, but he makes the point here to say
this is crazy.
He was bullied as a kid.
Kids made fun of him. They would pick on him.
Being an attorney was a way of combating bullying of the type that you experience when you're older. Being an attorney was a way to gain power.
He became an attorney to get power, not to help the bullied.
No.
Not to help the people that were like what he was. He became a lawyer to be a bully.
Like, and when he said that, I was like, he just said it out loud.
I know.
There was something a little like, whoa, he knows exactly who he is and exactly what he's doing.
And I'm sorry to say it, but like he looks to me like a grown-up version of a kid who got shoved into lockers all of his life.
Right.
And he has rage inside of him.
Yes.
And this is how he's taking it out. He's not using his smarts. He's obviously very smart. He's not using his smarts to help people.
Right.
He's using his smarts to like exact revenge.
Right. Or be nice to this woman who decided to marry him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
Totally.
he's taking advantage of everything. He's taking her for granted. It's just unbelievable. So Jeremy decides to call the media, mostly Fox News.
He calls it the thermonuclear weapon of the international media.
Fuck off, Jeremy. But he basically like calls Bill O'Reilly or whatever. He calls mostly Fox News. And there are cameras all over the place. And like, this is news all over the world, but it's not the full story. It's Jeremy's narrative.
And what Fox News is telling the world is that the evil, discriminatory HOA people are just out to religiously discriminate, and they're keeping this like beautiful Christian man and his family from putting up their Christmas lights.
And the gag is that one couple has a big sign that says, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord."
Yes.
These people believe most of the same stuff.
But also what like the people in the world aren't understanding is that he's not talking about putting up like a row of Christmas lights like they do in fucking Queens.
Right.
They don't understand that he's talking about like a fucking disruption.
It's a spectacle.
It's a spectacle where they're busing people in.
With hot chocolate and Santa and reindeer, not Snoopy.
No.
God knows. But all just
carolers. They're not carolers.
But like nothing that's just like, no, today is Christmas and today is He's not like giving a speech. He's not trying to bring like religion back to Christmas.
Exactly.
He just wants the fucking attention.
And all the HOA people are like,
once the media started, that's when his Facebook blew up.
People were forming opinions very quickly, calling us evil and anti-Christian. Members of the West Hayden Estates HOA voted most likely to see Satan. You did this to yourself.
They're looking at the Facebook page being called like anti-Christian. They're all fucking Christian pastors.
Yeah, even
every last one of them.
Even Julie with the cool hair.
Yeah.
Who like she's reading Facebook comments about her and calling her like a liberal snowflake, and she's like, "That's me." She raises her hand. She's wearing a tie-dye sweatshirt with a cross on it.
Can I tell you, none of these people want my marriage to exist. You know what I mean?
I think Julie's cool with it.
Maybe, but like I'm not so sure.
They're conservative Christians.
Exactly.
In Idaho. Jeremy.
Right. We're defending these people and calling them awesome. They don't want to come to my house.
Oh yeah, I don't
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that like these aren't people we would normally root for, but like they're on the right side of history here.
And so Jeremy wants to be the guy to quote save Christmas.
Oh
we
my
do this
God.
every fucking
I
year.
know.
Christmas is not in danger.
No,
there is not a war on Christmas. There are like 10 holidays that happen in December. When someone says happy holidays, say thanks you too. And then go celebrate around the tree. Whatever you want to do.
On 30 Rock when Jack and his wife send around a Christmas card. It says, Happy Holidays. And you open it and it says, it's what the terrorists say.
Oh, my God. That used to be a joke. Now it's like legit fucking real.
I know. So we meet this guy, Sean, who works in Spokane, Washington. He's a reporter. You know how mad you are at the idea of the war on Christmas? This guy, Sean, is madder than you.
I want to get Sean at the cocktail party so we can just
totally.
like be our own little echo chamber.
Yeah, he takes an interest in this fucking Jeremy story because he's saying he's like the first person in the media to recognize this guy isn't being religiously persecuted. He's just an attention seeker. And he calls up Jeremy and he's like, I'm going to write a story about you and I'm going to write it from that perspective.
And now we learn about the 3%ers. Holy
my God.
shit.
Yeah.
The 3%ers showed up. They're ultra right-wingers. They came to protect him from those atheist neighbors.
Members of the 3%ers like to show up with weapons to be defenders of a situation, but they're very conservative. They're far right.
The group advocates gun ownership rights and resistance to the U.S. federal government.
The 3%ers are the Oath Keepers. They're the Proud Boys. They're all the same far-right
indicted
extremists.
in the January 6th.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, that's who they are. And they show up at Jeremy's house. They knock on the door, and they offer their round-the-clock armed protection for persecuted Jeremy.
Once again, we're talking about Christmas lights and plastic Santas. I know. It's not that serious, everybody.
And Dolly the camel.
And Dolly, she did nothing wrong.
No, she did nothing wrong.
Enough. Poor Dolly. This is terrifying. They're like ultra right-wingers, and this is exactly what he wanted, you know?
Like, what happens now is they're not just, it's not like one guy standing in front of Jeremy's house. They're casing the neighborhood with their fucking guns over their shoulders.
They're like camo outfits,
Yeah.
their army costumes and all this shit.
And of course, the neighbors are pissed and terrified.
And they're being defenders of what?
Exactly.
Of what?
And like now this has gone from quirky and a little bit funny and amusing to actually scaring and somebody could get killed.
Because everyone is at a boil now.
Yes.
Everyone, because no one's being heard, no one's listening.
And everyone in the neighborhood refuses to say I'm scared. They just say like, well, don't come at me with your gun because I'll come at you with my gun.
Right, which is like, let's put the assault rifles away.
Yes, like this is the problem. There are kids everywhere.
That's the other thing,
you know?
And the whole point is to bring 5,000 people to this cul-de-sac and you want to fill it with guns?
And the thing that Jeremy
and angry people?
He will say time and again, this is just about having fun. This is just about, Jeremy, is this still fun to you?
It is. That's the sick part. To him, it is.
I know. And these are your Christian values, Jeremy?
Yeah. So Jeremy loves playing the victim because now everyone's like fighting in the middle of the night and the people from the HOA and like Christy's involved.
Christy's got like cell phone videos of these like confrontations.
Christy, turn the light on because it's pitch dark and I can't see.
It's just like the neighbors are just annoyed. Like if it were me, I would be like, what? Like I don't want to be fighting with you, but you got these guys with guns walking up and down the street.
Like defending and protecting you from what?
Exactly.
Like from what? And so Jeremy loves playing the victim. He's such a martyr. And anything that anyone says against him, he calls a quote
credible, serious death threat from a neighbor almost directly across the street.
I'm not a person prone to violence, but I have to protect myself. And so I decided to get a gun.
Excellent. Perfect.
This is the last guy in the world who should have a fucking gun.
There's nothing scarier than an irrationally angry person with a fucking assault rifle.
Right. Yeah.
Wonderful. And so Don, the Free America guy, is all for the gun. He's like, I carry guns all the time.
You know what? I gotta say though, like Don, the Free America guy, comes over. They all have like him and like the other Free America people.
The NRA people, basically.
But they say to Jeremy, don't do it. It's not worth it. They are saying to him, like, don't do the Christmas thing. Christy's like, babe, don't do the Christmas thing. It's not worth it. And Jeremy just says, there's something in me that tells me I have to do this. So Christy packs up the kids and leaves him.
She goes to visit her parents for the entire month of December.
So here's the thing, Jeremy. You've been saying this whole time that Christmas is your favorite time of year.
Right.
You love Christmas. You don't want to be with your family for Christmas. You don't want to be with your fucking children on Christmas.
Because he needs to win.
Exactly.
He needs to win.
Yeah.
And so he's like exactly who he is, and I hate every fiber of his being with every fiber of my being.
It's just like he says it over and over again. It's just about having fun. Can you imagine anything sadder as like a quote happily married person?
I know.
Than to not be with your spouse and child on what on earth?
You know what though? You know who's happy?
Who?
Christy and the kids.
I'm sure.
They're free of him and this fucking nonsense and this regime. So now Santa's here, everybody.
I had kind of made up my mind I was going to retire the suit. But then I got a call from Jeremy asking if I was available. He's trying to raise money for cancer. And I thought, well, I'll do it.
Well, you know, it's to raise money for cancer. And I'm like, Santa, he's lying to you.
Here's the thing. This guy is like, his lower third is Santa.
Yeah.
He's not like, they don't give another name. They give Santa.
And let me tell you, if you haven't watched this yet, I urge you to watch it.
Yeah, it's
but
good.
He's like Santa as you know him from like the Christmas cards.
Yeah.
Like he's all decked out as Santa.
He's in his Santa
He's not
outfit.
like Derek, a guy who plays Santa sometimes. It seriously looks like Santa.
He's Santa.
So now tons of people are showing up. They're coming from out of state.
I mean, they hired a bus company. We meet the bus driver. They're coming from all over. And this is what I'm talking, like, this is what I didn't like about the HOA calling these people undesirables.
I know.
My mom would have driven 3 hours to take us to this.
Right.
My mom had $100 to split between 4 kids for Christmas, but she could take us to see the fucking holiday lights.
Right. And
and
the way it's promoted online, like you have to remember, this is all happening in this teeny tiny area.
Yeah.
The people who see this from 2 hours away think it's great.
We used to drive around like any town we lived in to see all the Christmas lights.
When I visit my parents, like for Christmas, Mike and I make a point to go like, when are we going to drive around for a little bit? It's so
love this
fun.
stuff. Yeah, totally. Oh, and also like the people with the guns, like the 3%ers, they are there with like the thousands of people to quote protect like the visitors to Jeremy's house.
Right, because they think that like Jennifer and her pastor husband are going to come and wreak havoc.
Like you drive all that way with your family and your young kids to like go see this beautiful Christmas decoration, and then like there's people with machine guns in front of it,
fucking assault rifles. Like
what,
dude,
like that, like you're good with it,
right? So now Jeremy makes sure to film people saying how amazing it was.
Yes,
but someone's like, there are a lot of people there with guns. Like, what was that about?
Right.
But like again, the display's not that great. It's just curtain lights. Like it's just a lot of lights. It's a lot of razzle dazzle.
This whole point of this section is to show how bad it really was for the neighborhood, because there's a line of cars. The neighbors can't get through. They can't even walk on their own streets.
But according to Jeremy's cell phone footage from like 2 hours before everyone was scheduled to show up, he's like, look how dead it is. It's not busy at all. But I'm like, Jeremy, I thought it was the biggest thing of the year.
And then there's like a Facebook post where one of the attendees says
that his mother, who was elderly, was treated so poorly by the neighbors that he wanted to do really, really, really bad things to the neighbors. And it took a lot for him not to.
And he, quote, wanted to do some crazy violence to the neighborhood, but like talks himself out of it. These are the kinds of people we're dealing with here.
Right. And so we get a lot of conflicting stories. Like Jeremy saying neighbors were hitting cars and threatening people and telling them to leave. And the neighbors are like, we hate you, but we didn't beat up anyone's car.
No, but just as an outsider seeing this, you're like, wow, this really would be fucking awful to live there.
Right. This like ruined everything. We drove 2 hours for this.
Right. But like the neighbors, like you're seeing the buses and the carolers and it's so wrong.
It's so wrong. So now, like, he gets away with it that one year.
Yeah.
That was 2015. Now it's 2016. And, it has to get bigger and bigger every year. And now he needs it to get bigger specifically to get back at the neighbors. So now it's like a spite spectacle.
Exactly.
It's not just a big, like, spectacle to make him feel like a big, strong man.
He
now
says
it's a spite spectacle.
His neighbors are bitter, angry old people who deserve it.
Jeremy.
Christy, I wonder why they're not bringing you cookies.
Are you kidding me?
You know?
Chrissy, I'm sure Chrissy had a lovely December away from him. Honestly.
Totally.
Like, what a perfect way to be like, I'm going to go, honey. You've made this really difficult for me. I'm going to leave and spend it with my parents.
Yeah.
And so for this new spectacle, everyone knows, oh God, it's going to be worse this year. There are neighbors, like people in the HOA, who are just planning Christmas vacations to be out of town during it to avoid it.
And we see it. We see that the 2016 display, the neighbors are now getting into fights with Jeremy's dad.
Oh, God.
His dad is there impersonating a fucking police officer.
I mean, it's really bad.
It's bad.
And the neighbors are filming now because Jeremy is like editing shit and filming things that only look good for him.
Right.
Like now everyone's mad at Kim the yogi. Like, please. The neighbors are accused of setting up a staged car accident.
I know.
They didn't do that.
And like the bus drivers involved in the drama now, he's saying they're staging the car accident.
Mess.
It's really bad. And then at
for a bunch of bad lights and plastic Santas.
I know.
Get a grip.
And at the end of all of it, at the end of that Christmas season.
So I stayed at home, and through the night and the day and the night and the day, for 5 days straight, I wrote the best damn lawsuit of my life. I can sue them from now until kingdom come.
The guy who created all the drama files the lawsuit against his own neighbors.
Well, what he calls, I'm going to write the best damn lawsuit of my life.
Well, because what he did, and I hate to say it, but he's got a little bit of a point here. He spends the year going through and cataloging all the ways his neighbors are breaking rules of the HOA. So like he's seeing things like one neighbor has 3 dogs. Well, according to the rules, you can only have 2. One neighbor has an asphalt driveway. Well, you can only have pavement. One has like a kind of flag you're not allowed. And I'm sorry, but like like, I'm sorry, but like, you can't do it. You can't do it. Like, if you're going to come after the guy for breaking the rules, like, you got to keep your nose clean.
Okay, having a street hockey net is not a, quote, permanent structure in your fucking driveway, Jeremy. To me, they're all reaches.
Maybe, but like, the third dog isn't, like, I'm not on Jeremy's side.
Are you sure about that?
No, but I'm saying, like, of course he's going to come after you for all the rules you're breaking, and they're not the same.
Right, that's the major part of it.
Yeah.
Like, someone, again, having
you
a
can't
removal...
expect them to have any reason, though.
No, you can't reason. 100%. They kind of should have seen this coming because he's so annoyingly, frustratingly litigious. But a street hockey net that can be removed at any time, that is not a, quote, permanent structure that he wants everyone to think it is not fucking oath keepers with assault rifles.
It's not, but like in a court of law, a broken rule is a broken rule. You know what I mean?
Well, we'll talk to that judge who has no time for anybody.
I will say, too, like, the neighbors did not act quickly enough to get attorneys involved.
They should have had someone read over that very first piece of paper saying, Jeremy, these are the rules you're breaking.
But more than that, like, it's just like basic intimidation. Hire a fucking attorney.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
This guy's a bully, and like, there's an attorney out there who would do this pro bono.
Yeah, anyway.
Call Rabia.
Right? She's not busy at all. No. So we meet Peter. He's the lawyer representing the neighbors.
Excuse me?
Hot Peter?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Peter's very good looking.
He's cute. He knows his shit. He's smart.
Yeah, and he's quiet. He's calm.
And he's like, look, Jeremy's a whack job. He's doing all this on purpose.
He wanted to put people in a situation where he could use what they said, either recorded or by email or in a meeting, to frame this as a religious discrimination case. Especially when you listen to some of the recordings where he plants words in people's mouths that would fit his case.
He's putting people in situations where he can use what they said,
Yes.
like recording everyone's phone calls secretly, and then
Yes.
trying to like warp it into religious discrimination.
We see, so like now we're like in the deposition phase, and we see Jennifer, the one that was the president of the HOA, who was like crying on the phone.
Right.
We see her being deposed by Jeremy because he's representing himself.
Are we going to skip right past the fact that Jeremy is playing chess against himself, and the board is the Civil War, and one side is the American flag, and the other side is the Confederate flag?
No, I didn't even see that.
And then speaking of the Confederate flag, Jeremy was in the news long before this battle for defending the Confederate flag and basically saying that like not putting the Confederate flag up is on par with book burning.
No!
Jeremy, girl.
Oh my God.
Not to just, I don't know. I was like, is that that's the Confederate flag? Holy shit. He's like playing as the Confederate flag.
Oh my God. Well, now we're at Jennifer's deposition.
She nails this.
She nails it. But at first, we're hearing Jeremy bully her, and it sounds like it's not going well. But then she literally, like, Jennifer gets her groove back. And we see her modern day, like, to the interview for this documentary, saying how, like, I saw what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was trying to trick me.
I really had a lot of joy deposing her and asking her all sorts of questions.
Do you think that the letter was discriminating?
No.
I'm like 1,000 times smarter than these people, and I can lay traps and set them up every single time.
In this moment in Jeremy's interview, he's like, I'm smarter than them. I can lay traps for them. Like, he's such a dick, but he's not, because Jennifer's just, like, not falling for it. She stays totally composed, and she kicks his ass.
And in the deposition, she is, as my therapist says, starving the narcissist.
Yeah.
And he can't handle it.
Oh
and
my
I've
God.
been there where you're just like, I don't know what to tell you.
What
And
does
then
that
they
mean?
start
Like,
screaming.
So, like, she's just, like, not responding
She's
emotionally?
not, like, energetically. Like, if you're dealing with someone who's just ramping up and you don't meet them there, and you continue to not, they can't handle it and they get louder. And, then you're just like, well, now you're screaming at me and this conversation's over. And that's what Jennifer did. Because Jennifer is literally, like, looking at her nails and she's like, yeah, I don't know, Jeremy. Like, yeah, I was just yesing you to death, bro. Like, she's completely, and I'm like, she spoke to somebody.
Yeah, she's not frazzled. She's not upset.
I think Peter, the lawyer, was just like, girl, you got this. Like, he's crazy. Like, just, you didn't do anything wrong here. Like, we're going to get through this. And that moment where she looks at her nails, I'm like, Jennifer, yes, you starved that narcissist. Hell yeah. So they're all deposed, and then by October of 2018, they all head to court.
Yeah.
And this is about Christmas decorating. Like, they head to court.
I know. It really is so fucking wild. And, like, the neighbors are excited to go to court because they're like, the world has never heard our side of this.
Right.
We are not religious persecutors.
Right. We are religious people.
Exactly. And so, like, he's got recordings and he's only playing snippets and it doesn't sound good. The things that, like, he has them on tape saying.
But it's all out of context and edited by Jeremy, too.
But then somehow he wins. Like, the jury sides with him.
Right. The neighbors are found guilty.
And they're order to pay him $75,000.
Right. And so Jeremy's now talking about freedom and values and justice and blah, blah, blah.
And if the people with the means to stand up for their beliefs aren't going to do it, then who? Like, and I was like, is this how this is going to end?
No. But at one point, he's like,
I've lost relationships. I've lost time with my children, time with my wife. At the end of the day, is all of this really worth it? Yes.
At the end of the day, was it really worth it? And then he goes, yes.
Oh my God. But then, like, out of nowhere, in the middle of April
of 2019, the next year.
Yeah, the judge reverses the jury's opinion. This should never happen.
And Jeremy's found guilty. The clear blue sky. Everyone is buzzing. They break out the pink champagne.
They're like literally drinking champagne in the streets, probably breaking 15 laws of the
right,
HOA.
Who cares?
Totally.
But at one point, one of the couples is like, they don't want to go into like too much about how much they celebrated because they got a little hammered. And at one point, one of the husbands is like, sweetheart, you're on film.
Yeah, you're saying that like they're recording right
and
now.
She's like, I had some pink champagne. What of it? Let me live, Jeff.
I know, but like at this point, because of the reversal, Jeremy and his family have to pay $112,000 of the legal fees of the HOA.
Right.
And Christy's very concerned about this.
Right. So now there's more recordings. Like it all comes down to the recordings, basically, and how he was aggressively confrontational. He is screaming. We hear like his own recordings that he's very proud he has, by the way.
Yeah.
He's screaming about how Dolly, this neighbor, not Dolly the camel, different Dolly. She's 83 years old. She has 3 dogs, and he's screaming.
Let me tell you, Dolly, I'm coming for her. This woman is in open violation of the rules. The question is, what dog are we taking from Dolly?
That's an open violation of the rules. And he goes, the question is, which dog are we taking from Dolly? I want that little one.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Right. And the judge is saying that, like, all of that, he sounds very aggressive. The evidence supports the HOA's version of events.
Jeremy's witnesses were lying.
Yes.
Like, the stories that they told of all this drama didn't match any of the videos because they were like, it was not loud at all. Meanwhile, there are videos of how loud it was. And his testimony was, quote, riddled with inconsistencies.
And so it's going to go, like, obviously he's appealing this. And in June 2020, it's going before, like, a 3-judge panel.
But he's like, wow, I thought this was America, not one of those, quote, corrupt Latin American countries where dictators execute people in alleyways. I'm like, Jeremy, you keep saying it out loud.
I know.
You're saying it all out loud. He has Bill O'Reilly on speed dial. I promise you.
1,000,000%. It's June 2020 where, like, he's not even going to be in court. He's just going to be watching it on YouTube.
Right.
Remember, this is the fucking middle of the pandemic.
Right.
So he's preparing for, if he gets to speak, what he's going to say. It's his son's birthday party.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there. The cameras are there. They're on him. And he's, like, rehearsing what he's going to try to say to Christy in the middle of their kid's birthday party.
He's trying to get a clean, because he's talking to the camera and Christy.
Yeah.
So he's trying to get, like, a great soundbite. It's nothing new. It's nothing we haven't heard him say 10,000 times. And the kid is like, being a kid, it's their birthday, they're screaming.
His birthday party.
And I'm like, you know what, Jeremy? You can't get through a full sentence when there's a kid in the room. You just can't. And that's the gig.
But
what do you
he's
want?
yelling at Christy because Christy's trying to pay attention to the kid for the party.
It's really scary.
And he just keeps saying to her, like, if you're not going to listen, then forget it. Then forget it. So then she walks away and comes back and tries to get him to do it again. Then they're interrupted again. He yells at her again.
Can I just start over and you not talk?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. All right, ready? Here we go. That HOAs should be absolutely prohibited in the United States. Almost never do you have a situation. Please, everyone, be quiet so I can actually not go crazy. I'm gonna go to an insane asylum.
She almost says it with a smirk, like, I won't say anything, but you have like a toddler running around and they're going to make noise,
and
buddy
it's
boy.
his birthday. And all I can think about is, like, Jeremy, you keep saying how the whole point of this, it's Christmas, it's family, it's to have fun. You have the opportunity to spend the day with your fucking kid at his birthday party.
Right.
Just go do that.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
It's like, I really hope.
You're a really sick fucking guy, Jeremy. If you're hearing this, you're a sick fucking guy.
Yeah.
Spend the birthday with your kid.
Right. And Christy, I hope you get out of that house and take the kids with you.
How do you, like, also not know how this is going to look? The cameras are on. You look crazy.
Right. But which is what everyone told him at the beginning of this thing.
Yeah, totally.
But, like, he thinks this is very impressive. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room.
But
and
Jeremy,
he, like,
you're
loves
not.
it. No,
you
you're
are
not.
really fucked up.
Yeah, you're super fucked up.
Go look at yourself, and you don't deserve your wife. There, I said it.
Yeah, I agree.
God, and Christy says if they lose this appeal, they have to pay the HOA legal fees for the federal and appellate level.
Right.
Christy says that would bankrupt us.
And at this point,
is that really, that's worth it to you?
To him, it absolutely is. And at this point, so now it's not the kid's birthday party, and they're like sort of going through the facts of what could happen because the thing is about to start. And so like she's crying, and he tried because the cameras are there, he's trying to console her, and she's like, no. Like you could see that it's a totally loveless marriage.
She wants him to let this go. He won't do it.
He won't do it. And then he almost realizes, you can almost see him turn to the cameras and be like, fuck, the cameras are here. And he's like, they're there, trying to console her. And she's like, just get off me. Like, just leave me alone. And they're all still neighbors.
I know.
He's living in the house.
I know. And so like they're watching the trial on YouTube. Are we going to talk about this ornery judge?
For 10 hours.
Judge Judy.
I love her, but also he's drinking out of this American flag mug. It's the biggest mug I've ever seen. He has to lift it with 2 hands. It's the size of his head. So when he goes to
You're high for detail in this app.
Because I was like, once I saw that Confederate flag, I was like, what else is around?
Yeah.
And it's when he drinks from it, you can't see his face anymore. That's how big it is. It's the biggest mug I've ever seen, and no one talks about how ridiculous it is. So we're watching this appeal via Zoom, and no one, it's just the lawyers talking.
Right.
Like all the neighbors and Jeremy, they're all watching it on their own respective
and
YouTube
we're
couches.
like, there's cameras in all their houses, so we're seeing all of their reactions.
And Jeremy's already talking over everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Christy's super annoyed by him, but the judge is not to be fucked with. We don't know her name, but like Jeremy's lawyer is like, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. And she asked the judge to repeat herself.
I know.
And the judge goes, what exactly is the discrimination? She just says it louder and more aggressively.
I know.
And right after that, one of the neighbors goes, ooh, I like her. And I'm like, same. And the judge makes the good point. Like, the entire thing is about the event, not the person, not the religion. No one cares about his religion. Half of them believe what he believes.
Exactly.
The point is you're bringing in 10,000 people into a cul-de-sac and you're not allowed to.
Right.
Why are we here?
I know.
Why has this gone on for 4 fucking years?
I know. And there's like 2 other
You're
judges.
wasting her time, and she's letting everybody know.
There's 2 other judges on the panel. They don't even talk.
And she's like, let me ask you a question. Where's the religion in this? Crickets.
Right,
She goes, I see a plastic Santa. I see shitty lights. I see hot chocolate.
Yeah.
At what point is he trying to like preach, which you probably can't fucking shove down everyone's throats anyway?
Totally.
And so Jeremy thinks that freedom equals like doing whatever he wants all the time.
Right.
And that's really not the case.
No, of course not.
And so he's calling people, like the lawyer, like the neighbor's lawyer chimes in and they're like, yeah, like agreed, judge. And Jeremy's like,
It's not their business. This isn't the First Amendment.
Stop.
So then no one can practice of their faith. Then no one can do anything on their property. What a commie. That guy is a communist.
What a commie. He's such a communist. He's a socialist. And I'm like, Jeremy,
I know.
You're off the fucking deep end here.
He's just off the rails. And then he's saying, like, if we lose this appeal, we're going to take it to the Supreme Court. Like, number one, the Supreme Court's never going to, well, maybe. Actually, I was going to say they're never going to hear this. Maybe they will.
I don't know. It's been a wild, wild time.
But I'm like, and he says, if that happens, this will become $1 million lawsuit. Jeremy, listen to yourself.
I know.
Give that money to your kids.
No.
Go to Disney World.
Nope. Absolutely not. Oh, God, can you imagine him at Disney World?
I know. And then we're with the neighbors, and the neighbors are like, even if we lose this, the scariest part is that he's going to come after us individually.
Right.
Like a loss suing the HOA is one thing. He's not going to stop there.
Right. Absolutely.
And they make the point that, like, for Jeremy, he can sue them basically for free because he's a lawyer. That's what he does. It's going to cost them all tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And so they have to wait like 12 to 24 months before the judge decides.
Like, that's still happening. We still don't know what happened.
We don't know. And Christy is so fucking sad. Like, she basically just says, like, I wanted to have fun with the neighbors. I think I missed out on that. Christy, you did.
And she's saying, like, I want to move because she really wants that cul-de-sac country life. She wants to be at the fucking bongo club or whatever it's called. Bunko. The Bunko Club.
Making cookies for everyone and the kids playing. And, like, that's the life she wants. And he robbed her of that.
You're the enemy in that neighborhood, Christy. I'm sorry, but you are.
And his own parents said...
His intention was to become a senator. And he thought because of the conservative nature of Idaho, he had a good possibility of becoming a senator. He wanted to do things in life. Lawyer, next level of president. He said, I said, really? He said, I think I'd be a great president.
This was all a ploy to get the ultra right-wing conservatives on his side and then become senator and then become president. God fucking help us all. Because that's what's next.
I know.
He's going to be in 5 years' time, he's going to be on the debates.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, so I Googled Jeremy just to see what he's doing. On Thanksgiving, he wondered, why don't the Pilgrims have a church denomination still in existence? Is there a Puritan group still practicing? I'd look terrible in the big hat, but I'd try it. November 9th, he says that Marco Rubio is a hero due to his views on abortion. And on October 10th, happy Columbus Day to all you anti-American, anti-Western culture types.
Oh, wait, where is he posting this stuff?
Facebook.
Oh, my God.
He's called like the Christmas guy or some bullshit.
You know, we got to set up a Google alert so we can find out what happens.
I know. I'm going to check again. I Googled. There is no update right now, but I've been Googling like since I first watched this in the summer.
Oh, my God.
So we'll keep you posted. But also, this is not how you do Christmas. We know how to do Christmas.
We know how to. You get a little bit drunk after 2.
Yeah.
And you go see the Rockettes.
Right. You get a little Snoopy. You watch some Snoopy.
Yeah,
you hang out. And you don't do any of this. You don't pick a fight where there isn't any.
No.
Merry Christmas. Move on.
Fam, come to Obsessed Fest Year 2, Dallas, Texas, October 20th to the 22nd.
Yeah, you got it.
Are you bringing back your Taylor Swift sing-along?
Yeah, if you would like me to, I'd be happy to do
kidding?
it. Okay,
I'm
great.
not, if you say no, I'm not doing Obsessed Fest.
Oh, I'm totally doing it.
Fam, it's going to be 2.5 full days of panels, meet and greets, meetups, karaoke, book signings.
True crime stuff, not true crime stuff. It's a party.
It's a party.
It is a party.
We're doing a live show. OWD's doing a live show. Everybody who comes gets a book. My book.
Your book.
My book. I'm going to sign it for you.
Yes.
It's going to be so fun. Join us there. Come see me on my book party tour. I'm coming to a city near you in January, February, and early March.
Yep.
I'm going to read a chapter. We're going to play a game. It's going to be so fun. Go to truecrimeobsessed.com. Click on the CS Live link to get all that info.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
And join us on the Patreon.
Yeah.
More you and me.
Yeah, just tons of it, for better or worse.
It's where we cover all of the long-form series. So everything on Netflix, Hulu, that goes episode by episode.
Yeah.
350 full bonus apps. Tons of videos. Our
From
live
Obsessed
show from
Fest.
Obsessed Fest, but also like our early live shows.
Yeah.
So much stuff there.
There's I mean, everything, I'm sorry, everything we do is a party.
It's so fun.
Because I just keep wanting, like, the
I know.
Pace is a party.
It is.
Obsessed Fest is a party.
We can't not have a good time.
It's true.
We don't know how.
Oh, man.
What are we doing next?
We are doing the 2020 episode on the Happy Face Killer.
Oh, shit.
It's on Hulu.
Oh, my goodness. I'm obsessed with this.
It's called Sincerely the Happy Face Killer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
All right, well, stay tuned for the trailer for that and our funny and hilarious and probably rage-filled outtakes.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm sweating. It's December and I'm sweating.
It is,
what
I
the
know.
fuck is that, Jeremy? Another reason to hate him. Bye.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.
My sister, Tanya Bennett, was murdered here.
It was the most jumbled up case I've ever seen in my life. It's beginning to become very bizarre to me.
Laverne Pavlinac says she heard her boyfriend talking about killing a woman.
She was a character, I can tell you that.
A decade-long relationship that can only be described as dysfunctional, to put it mildly.
The police start to zero in on John Sosnowski.
No. Who's trying to put this on me? I don't remember going no court, there ain't no body, for God's sake.
She says, I know he did it because I was there.
She points out exactly where that body had been placed. She couldn't have missed it by 10 feet. I thought, my God, this woman was actually here.
This was sort of like, Laverne, are you telling stories again?
I always believed that the truth would come out eventually. I just didn't think the truth would come out of the mouth of a serial killer.
Like shoplifting.
It is nothing like shoplifting. You're killing somebody.
You okay?
Yeah.
I think your water just attacked you.
I was trying.
It's on your face and on your glasses. I can
Aaron,
see it.
can you zoom in on the glasses? I just got water all over my face.
But the way it went out, you went, and it was like you were being attacked. Like the spirit of Christmas is like, now hold on a
I
second.
was trying really hard not to interrupt the moment.
That's okay.
You know what I mean?
That's what we do here. We interrupt moments.
Oh, man.
You all right?
Got water all over my face.
Okay. I'm going to take that from the top, everybody.
Yep, thank you so much.
You might be hearing this twice. I don't know.
We don't know what's going to happen.
From oh my God.
What was his name?
What was his name?
Focus on the Family Guy.
We did a documentary on him.
I emailed with him for like a week until he yelled at me and told me not to email him again.
And then he like blocked you or something.
Wait, what's his name? My favorite moment is in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is when he's like standing in his office and all like the suits are walking into the conference room.
Right.
Fuck you, and fuck you, and fuck you, and fuck you.